How are you feeling? What is it now? 72 hours on after what arguably was one of the biggest and probably most surreal experiences of your life.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm gutted about the way it turned out. You know, I feel like I had 2 fights that night. The first one I won, and the second one, well, you guys know what happened. You know, I feel like I was robbed of the opportunity there. You know, that shot was definitely not low, and you know, we're here to prove it and here to, you know, make a case for that.
How do you prove it?
You know, you can see. You know, everyone can see. It's, you know, the whole world saw it. You know, he didn't grab his balls after I hit him. He just went straight down, and he was crippled by the body shot on the floor. And the referee should have counted, but in my mind, the referee was already counting that. I was waiting for it, 1, 2, 3, but he didn't, and I feel like I lost momentum. I became disheartened a little bit, because if what you're doing to practicing for like 12 weeks for that shot, you know, we were practicing the body shots and we pulled it off.
Don, the controversy around this all is whether the waistband shot was ruled as a low blow or legal blow. Where was you at? You had the rules meeting before that. Where was you at? What the referee said when he comes in there? If he says, right, waistband is okay, or did he say it wasn't okay?
Well, there is it was recorded. The referee came to read us the rules, go over the rules and what he expects from us. And at the end of his speech, he asked myself and Daniel, do you have any questions? Which I, as the coach, the head coach, I said, yes, I do. There's only one thing I pulled the referee up on to remind him. I said, could you please make sure that our opponent, his groin guard, it finishes on the line where it's supposed to be and not above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he could hear the referee acknowledge. He didn't contest it. He acknowledged it. Mm-hmm. Okay? And to my surprise, I'm still in shock, Spence. I'm still in shock that what we witnessed, it's not even debatable. It's not even debatable. People are testing my intelligence, or everybody's intelligence. What we're seeing, they're telling us we didn't see what we're seeing. Yeah? In today's technology, no, come on.
But what you saw, Dom, was subject. I'm in your camp. Right? At the moment I watched it on television, I didn't go because I wasn't feeling particularly well over the weekend. But my first reaction was that wasn't a low blow. I listened to Carl Frampton say exactly the same thing instantaneously as a fighter. Yeah. And then when it went to the break for the rounds, he doubled down on the same premise. I've listened to Johnny Nelson say the same thing. I've listened to Joe Cortez be asked his opinion as a referee about the reality of these circumstances. I've seen a fight over the weekend between Jared Anderson and Rudenko with the exact same shots in the exact same space being repeatedly hit. Yeah. But what seems to be at debate here is the subjectivity of the referee and his approach to the circumstances. Because I saw the video where you asked him specifically, or you expressed your concerns about where Usyk puts his guard and how high that looks, and that the referee was in a strange dynamic at the time, giving you a lecture or telling you about how you should react to the environment. All that seemed a bit strange. I couldn't quite work out what all that was about and what he was making himself centre of attention. But all of that puts you into a space where it would appear that we're debating the subjectivity of a refereeing decision, because in one hand you've got a fight put on by Top Rank with a recognisable fighter in Jared Anderson, right? Repeatedly hitting Rudenko on the exact same space that Daniel hit Usyk, and there's not a peep from them. Mm-hmm. You've got an established referee in Joe Cortez that's looking at it, and he is also saying that it was one thing seeing it on television, it's another thing seeing it live. And the referee's perspective, with technology being available to him at some point, but not at that moment in time, is that perhaps he didn't have the vision that he needed to have. And what the outcome now becomes is, how can we square this particular circle? And how can, if we are indeed all in the camp, and then Carl Froch wasn't, and that may well be because he has an agenda against Frank Warren, and he doesn't want that Frank Warren to have a situation where he can get himself into a situation where he's got 2 world champions. But how do we get to a point? We've seen this before. We've seen Mike Tyson against Buster Douglas have a count that was clearly wrong, right? Yeah. And that fight would have been won, but they never overturned it. So how do we move the dial from where we are now, which I think most sensible people, besides the people that don't want to see this view, think that there's something wrong here and that this is not the right outcome. Well, and we can question about why Daniel didn't jump on him straight afterwards, and we can talk about later on in the fight.
He's lost the momentum as a fighter. He's expecting the referee to count That's an automatic thing. The referee did no such thing. And at one point, I'm sure you saw it, where Usyk indicated that he's able to carry on. The referee said, no, take longer. It's not up to the referee to make that decision.
Yeah.
But again, I'll debate you with that point, because the referee's allowed to give him 5 minutes.
Correct.
And the referee gave him 3 minutes 46, because I think the referee was getting a bit concerned about where this was going.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty for the referee and for you guys is in that environment, when a circumstance like that happened, it was only going to play out the one way. Usyk was going to give him what he was given.
Not a low blow.
Yeah, I was
No,
there.
I agree with you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Let's just put it into context. Oleksandr Usyk ends up retaining his titles because of the fact that he responds after this low blow, which the referee has given. But there is a little bit of controversy here for so many different reasons. But you talk about the 3 minutes and 46 seconds that he was given to recover. Fighters allowed 5 minutes to recover if they're caught with a low blow. But usually in those circumstances, you get a point taken off you if you have been given a low blow. And that wasn't the case in this particular incident, was it?
May I also add that the referee took this from us, from my boy who's sitting there. I say my boy, I'm referring to Daniel Dubois.
Yeah.
The impact it will have on him as a fighter, who knows?
Well, you have to galvanise that. You have to take that and weaponise it, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to turn that into a weapon. If you've got a sense of injustice, you turn that into a rage and you turn that into a retribution.
No, I want my team to demand a rematch.
But let me ask you the question about the point, because he makes the point. Is it categoric? Because it's the first time during the fight that there was an observation about a low blow. He hadn't been warned previously. And if it wasn't a deliberate low blow, is it mandatory for the referee in that circumstance to take a point away?
No, the referee.
No.
Well, that's perhaps the reasons why the referee will say he didn't take a point away then, Don.
He ruled it an accidental low blow.
That's
exactly what he ruled it. I was there at ringside, actually. We was working on the fight for talkSPORT, and that shot and where it went in, and forget the waistband thing, and people are arguing, the waistband and below the belly button, etc., etc. That shot where it went in was right above
the
us,
belt line.
and it was in the solar plexus of the
We're
shoulder.
agreeing on that.
Yeah,
we're talking about Don's perspective about the fact that, and you mentioned it as well, that a point wasn't taken away.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a given that a point had to be taken away, even in the event of a low blow.
If it's deemed
Accidental.
as deliberate or accidental.
So that's a red herring to suggest that it was a false dawn that the referee didn't take a point away, because if he perceived it to be an accidental low blow and it hadn't been a repeat offence, then he doesn't necessarily have to take that point away to still be in a position where it's a low blow, does he?
No, understood. But what he done there with giving Oleksandr Usyk 5 minutes to recover, which was wrong anyway, because Usyk, as we could all clearly see, was making a meal out of it, using his experience, because Daniel now has got momentum going. He sees it, and by giving him that 5 minutes, just changed Daniel and what his approach was going to be, and took the flow away from what Daniel was doing.
Correct, for sure.
He shouldn't have been given 5 minutes. He should have been told to get up and continue the fight. And he said in an interview afterwards, Simon, that had the referee told him to get up and continue,
he'd have got up.
He would have got up.
If he'd started counting, he would have got up.
But we're debating,
absolutely.
We're not debating what Usyk would have done, because we probably all know that if Usyk was told to get up or to give an account, he'd have got up, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, the referee has subjectively, for whatever reason, viewed it as a low blow. So you're not right, Spencer. He has the right to give him 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but he didn't give him 5 minutes.
Simon,
he gave him 3, 4,
can I
6.
please add to that, right?
Yeah.
No, he says he would have got up. We assume he wouldn't have got up. I saw what I saw. The man was quaking.
Yeah.
Okay, he was in great pain from that body shot.
But he'd have been forced to get up, or he'd have been counted out.
They wouldn't be able physically to get up. The pain he was in. That shot is a horrible shot. It cripples people. He wouldn't have made the count of 10. And had he made the count of 10, Daniel would automatically, instinctively jumped on him and concluded the fight in our favour.
I think the argument was, technically, it may have been ruled a low blow because of his waistband and where it was or whatever else. But the reality was, it wasn't a low blow. It was in the solar plexus.
Okay, so what did you then make? What did you then make of the withering press conference put down about those who suggested it was a legal blow? Mm-hmm. Usyk and his team, he had a rules specialist reading off of a mobile phone the exact rule in that press conference about it being below the navel, which would be deemed as being a low blow. And he said that was a justification as to why it was ruled as a low blow. And he said that the only people that are thinking that it isn't are those from Britain. What was your reaction to that?
No, we've had Americans, we've had all the people from HBO to other people phoning us and telling us.
There was a lot
what
of people
happened.
there as well, trust me, that were saying the same thing.
So
And
what do you
that was
make of
his
that?
people.
Why did he come out and say that then?
What else can he do?
Because he has to say that.
What else can he do?
Yeah.
That's the only thing he can do. I mean, he's not going to turn around and say fair play.
Yeah.
He hit me and it wasn't a low blow, because ultimately he's engineered a situation
And
where
he-
he's got
He
himself.
could come out and be a little bit more magnanimous and say, actually, yeah, he did catch me, and you know what? Some people will see that as a low blow, some people won't.
then
I
he
don't
could
think
say
it.
that, but he
I
hasn't
think it
said
was.
that.
He didn't,
He's
and that's
living
what
in
I mean.
denial.
So what do you make of that character?
It's cheating. There's no other way of dressing it up. That is cheating.
He couldn't come out and say, "Oh yeah, it actually caught me with a good low blow," because otherwise, you know, like Don says, he's cheated in that situation because
Let's
he's
not
gone
dress
down
it
but
up.
made
Let's
out he
not
was
dress
hit
it
low.
up. It's a cheat. Okay?
What were you doing at the time, Don? Because I want to talk to you about momentum. We'll go to the break in a second and talk about the loss of momentum, because I've got a view on it, and you're no doubt might get
I've
cross
got-
with me. But
I've
the
got
point is
views
this:
on it.
what were you doing at the time when this is going on? You're seeing a situation manifesting in front of you. You instantaneously know that in your mind this is not a low blow. Usyk's making a 4-act play out of it. Are you screaming at the referee from the
Right.
corner?
I don't know if anyone captured this. I was demonstrating.
Yeah.
And I said a few things, maybe out of context. I was screaming.
He was.
I was screaming.
Because
waving-
he
was-
couldn't see it on the
he
camera.
was
I was
going-
screaming,
Yeah.
and I was then told by asked by one of the officials to sit down. I'm a very obedient person, always have been. I sat down like I was told, but I was demonstrating initially because when I realized the referee wasn't going to count it, I was expecting a count. When that count didn't come, I started demonstrating. No, I said no. This is not real. This is illegal.
This is where we was at. Don was screaming from one corner, they were screaming from another corner, and the referee was listening to them and acting with them, and Don was told to sit back down. But they were getting in the ring, throwing water, they were doing it. They were losing it,
They were.
George Fox is here as well, part of Daniel Dubois' team, Don's son, and a heavyweight boxer as well. We'll get to George in just a second. But Simon, you wanted to talk to Don about that moment in the fight. What happened straight after all this controversy and chaos?
Yeah, I mean, I realise I'm going to put myself in the territory of someone that's never laced up a glove and put myself in the circumstances that you guys do. But I couldn't understand I know that you've got something in front of you that's disappointing you. I know that ultimately not being able to jump on him instantaneously is a part of losing momentum. But I was surprised. I've got in my mind's eye that if I'm sat there watching Deontay Wilder, no disrespect, Daniel, Deontay Wilder sitting on the side of the apron waiting for 3.5 minutes, would have come flying across that ring throwing bombs. So I was surprised that Daniel didn't take advantage of a situation, because however much time he had to recover, he was still a damaged fighter, and you could see from the first 40 seconds directly afterwards that there was an opportunity there. And part of me thinks that you're complicit in your own downfall of not taking advantage of the opportunity. I know what you're going to say is I shouldn't have to have that opportunity to be taken advantage of. He should have been gone. Right?
You've answered.
Right?
You've answered.
But the momentum side of things, because I'm expecting you to be like a raging maniac on the side, keeping him charged
blocks, yeah.
and keeping him charged so that he's ready to go. And I'm expecting him to come out like a man demented, knowing that this is the moment. Okay, I shouldn't have to deal with this because he should be counted out. But this is my moment, and I was surprised not to see that.
Well, it's we lost the moment, right? The fighter lost the moment. He lost the momentum, okay, and that didn't happen. And Usyk, being a superior boxer that he is with the experience,
More experience, yeah.
was able to negate himself out of. He took advantage of. He knows how to survive with that. So we didn't jump on him like we should have. You're quite right in assuming that didn't happen. And like the fighter, I can only speak like Daniel's the fighter.
Of course,
he will tell you, and he lost the moment. He lost the momentum. However you want to dress it up.
Daniel, did you feel as if you'd lost the momentum in that moment? And when you look back on it, did you feel as if that was the key point of the entire bout?
I feel like, that was my moment. That was, I don't want to say it, but God, gave me that moment, and that was it. And that was my punch. And, it takes one punch in heavyweight boxing to change a fight. And, I feel like after while I was standing there, I was losing momentum. I was getting disheartened, looking all around.
Do
Confusion.
you feel that's more inexperienced, Daniel, of that moment and everything else? Because Oleksandr was using all his experience to get as long as rest as possible. But I suppose what Simon was asking here, though, do you feel that you should have done more immediately after that? As in, when he come out, just rolled the dice and put it, because he was hurt for about 40 seconds. He was uncomfortable. He was losing eye contact. He was going down.
Yeah.
That's when we were commentating on it, looking, going, Daniel's got him here. This is the bit. Let's go. And it was like you think why is he not going as much? Why is he not rolling it more? Do you put that down to inexperience, losing that momentum?
Probably inexperience, coming back off a mad injury like I've had, and only a month before this, I was just walking again, But
Sure.
so I've got to give myself a tap on the back and say, I went out there and
With
I made it happen.
A new coach, new team,
Yeah.
16 weeks. If we're able to do that in 16 weeks, can you imagine what would happen if Usyk is the man he is? And if that was me and I was in his shoes, I'd want to clear this up and say, you know what, I'll fight you, I'll beat you properly so there'll be no...
It's interesting. You want justice. Frank
Yes.
Warren says it should be declared as a no contest after those controversial scenes at the weekend. George is here, and you've got some specific chronological information which you think sort of establishes your case.
I think just to get a clear picture here, as a team, we obviously sit down and identify certain things, and we know that Usyk is vulnerable to the body. He's shown a history of that from amateur boxing through the World Boxing Series. He's been dropped by a body shot from Beterbiev. There's been an instance in the anti-Joshua fight where he was hit borderline and he starts to gesticulate that he's been hit low. So this is a guy that has a history of being vulnerable to body punches. So that's the first thing we have to acknowledge. Going from that, there were then several conversations had between my father and the referee and people within the context of this fight. And unfortunately, not all of these things are recorded, but you have to trust the integrity of officiating and of referees. It's not everything is going to be like a court of law sort of conversation. And we had concerns of where the waistband was. I've seen these other people come out and talk about, below the navel, but you lose, it is subjective, but you lose clarity when the groin guard and when the band is above the belly button or above the navel. So that's the first problem that you have where the subjectivity comes into it. But when the referee then acknowledges that he's going to make sure that Usyk is not wearing his shorts too high, and then there's been further conversations where he's suggestive of allowing that belt line, if the shorts are high above the navel, to be okay. You're now having this situation with the Jared Anderson fight post that, as you said, where it was kind of funny where you've seen the WBO maybe have been advised, because before the fight, that referee categorically said anything on a belt line is illegal, but yet went on to officiate the fight and see over probably 20, 30 shots on that belt line landed with no complaints. So this is the first it's a very, very, very grey area.
Inconsistent.
And it's completely inconsistent. So for me, when you're looking at a lot of these guys coming out, like your Tony Bellews and whatever else, saying that this is low, they're not acknowledging the fact that the shorts are being wore above the navel. So it's
a pretty basic situation, doesn't it, really? If it is established in law that anything below the belly button is a low blow, then why does it matter about where the shorts are positioned?
I suppose from an observer's perspective, when the belly button is covered, people struggle to identify exactly where the navel is, where it's positioned. That's the referee's job. And the last thing I would like to say is that if you study any, it's a bit of, let's say, hypervigilance, but if you observe any fighter or even any football player, when a ball is struck low or something, there's a specific body mechanics, there's a specific reaction or body language. Usyk didn't even gesticulate that he's been hit low. You watch Andrew Galota v Riddick Bowe, and it's clear low shots, and the first thing the person does is show that they've been hit low. He had no interest in that. He was in so much pain that he fell to the floor, and the referee decided for him that it was low because it broke the script and it broke politics being brought into boxing again, and that's the reality of what happens.
Yeah, totally agree with that. It's all about this whole waistband thing. Was it a low shot? The shot wasn't a low shot, but you could see by the body language and the reaction of Usyk, he was in pain, and the referee, there's no getting away from that. It wasn't just in that little moment there. There was other moments in that fight as well where the referee was clearly working on Usyk's favour.
And this is where the location comes into play. Yeah. And I think that's a determining factor, because when I watched the video, I didn't feel that you landed the point with the referee that you wanted to land. I didn't think the referee acknowledged it quite as explicitly as you would like to advocate that he did, because he was too busy giving Daniel a lecture about how he should embrace the audience and pay no attention to that nonsense. I didn't quite understand what all that was about. It seemed to be about him. But I get the feeling that if this situation... You've always got a situation where, despite the fact it's fighter A versus fighter B, he was the current world champion, so he gets that kind of feel about it. Sure. But when you're fighting in front of 43,000 fans on Ukrainian Independence Day and all that went with it, I think the referee was always going to make that decision. And that becomes part and parcel of it, because we are now debating subjectivity. This is our argument. Our argument is that one referee will sit there and allow punching on the belt to be a certain perspective and another that does not. And his vantage point is that he doesn't follow the seeming conventional protocol of giving a guy 5 minutes. He wants him up after 3 minutes. He wants him up after 3.5 minutes because he's getting fed up with him being down on the ground. So that doesn't make sense either because he's allowed to give him 5. So why is he doing that? He's not really steering towards the argument that a point should be deducted. And all of these things make it a very sustainable argument to Frank to be making on your behalf. The problem for me is we know what comes into play here. There's so much money around in this particular next set of scenarios that could possibly undermine Daniel's point of view, and that's the challenge that Frank's got to be able to overcome. But I think most people are in your camp.
I feel Frank is. I've spoken to Frank Warren and Martin Bowes, the manager. I think they feel very strongly about it.
Oh no, he does.
Don, was the waistband deemed okay by the referee?
The referee acknowledged it. I asked him.
Rest my case.
So how successful do you think Frank will be in his attempt to get the no contest, or whether or not he manages to sort out a rematch as Daniel's asked them to do?
If anyone can, Frank can.
Yeah.
If anyone can, Frank can.
Do you think we'll see a different outcome next time if these two meet again?
I'm gonna say here, of course. We had 16 weeks to for my young gun here to fight a guy who's deemed to be the best pound for pound heavyweight with Tyson Fury. He put up that effort. Give us another 16 weeks and see what we'll do. We'll conclude it in our favour.
Are we moving on now? We're talking about this situation with the stoppage at the end of the fight, round 9. I want to talk to you a little bit about that, Daniel. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of people saying online and whatnot that they felt that you could have continued in the fight. And some people even saying strong words like you'd quit in that fight. Wanted to clear this up as well now. Where was you at on that? At the moment of the stoppage, can you explain, when you went down, why you listened to the count to 10 and didn't come up again?
Oh, what do you mean?
Did you have any fight left in you, or was you at that stage where you just thrown everything at it and just run out of gas?
I think the momentum was lost after that. The little thing with the knockdown with Usyk and all of that, and
Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people are questioning him. You was looking at the ref, so you knew that was going on.
I looked at my corner.
7, 8, 9, 10. You looked at your corner.
Yeah.
Did your corners just say, "Don't worry, you're done," or what? Or was it a decision you made yourself?
It was I looked at my corner. I checked what they were saying, and they said, wait, and then up, and I got up.
Oh, you missed time. Was it that you missed
time?
He got up, and the referee deemed that we needed an excuse to wave the fight off.
So what I'm asking is, was you willing to continue at that point? I think that's what I'm saying, because that's the grey area I wanted to clear up.
What do you think to that, Dom?
Because a lot of people were saying that you missed.
I didn't quit.
You missed the count on purpose. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, my reaction to it again, and I'm going to steer myself into sharky waters here, was that I felt that there was an acceptance from Daniel. That he was, whether it's a combination of events, the combination of the demoralisation of Usyk beginning to get on top in this fight, albeit the 2 rounds earlier, I think Daniel had his best round besides the knockdown in the 5th round. And I felt, when I was watching the television, screaming at him to get up. And I thought that he would get up. And I don't understand, looking at it, obviously I'm not a fighter. And I'm not on the receiving end of this. It's really bloody easy for me to sit here saying the things to a fighter that I will never have to experience. But sometimes I suspect, in order to win world titles, to be in a position, you've got to dig deep. You've got to really bite down. So now, moving on to that, if he's up on 9, we're now talking about a referee waving it off on the basis of what? You've told your fighter to get up. Your fighter's got up.
Right. We've not.
So you've got to be equally as fed up with that as well.
We've not complained about the stoppage. The referee makes that decision. I'm not taking that away from the referee making that particular decision. He has to look after the fighter first and foremost. Yeah, he's closest to the fighter. Yeah, he can see into their eyes. Right.
But you're in tune with him as well, aren't you?
I tell you what, it's about the timing of getting up as well. Now, if you get up on 7, the referee more likely will let you go if he looks at your eyes. I think it was because of the late decision on rising.
Like Daniel said a second or so ago, Daniel was always. He was looking at the corner, so he was with it.
Right.
He was looking at me. I made a sign to say, stay down, stay in, take as long as
take your time. Yeah.
And there was a point I said, he got up at the point I told him to get up.
Yeah.
As soon as he got up, the referee waved it off. Again, I'm not here to challenge that the referee's decision at that point. No. Okay? I won't take that away from the referee.
But it's the wrong decision by your
It
own
may
logic.
be the wrong decision,
Yeah.
but he's the closest to the fighter. He could see their eyes. I can't see his pupils from where I'm standing.
Yeah.
I could see
Well,
his
Daniel,
front.
you know the answer to that.
But the fighter got up under instructions. He got up at the point.
I was ready to
He
continue.
was ready to
fighting.
continue.
I'm sorry to interject in this as part of the team as well. Like as a fighter as well, you're taught a lot of the times when you're hurt to start rising around the count 8. That's usually there and thereabouts. There.
And a referee will know that as well, though. But a referee will know that as
A lot
well.
of the US refereed fights, they let you get up even at that 9 count. They do that. Does happen
Right.
if you
But
watch.
you're in
I think you're in
dangerous
danger.
area
You're in
there,
danger. I think as a team, a lot of these things like we're not the enemy of progress. We're here to strive to be the best and to improve. These kind of things we go away as a team, discuss. My father and Daniel will discuss. Maybe in future get up a second earlier, half a second earlier, whatever it may be. There may be those adjustments will be made, and we acknowledge that as a team. So, like we said, we're here to progress.
No, I think we're.
However, I think sorry.
Go on, George.
With what was just said there in terms of getting up, the referee just made another decision that was like a partisan decision. Like it was just another example display of the previous refereeing of the fight. And you can even notice, coming back to the body punches, you see him every time a clean body shot was landed. Even after that, the referee's body language was all. It's very protective. He was looking.
You think he was looking for it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that even the stoppage of the fight is indicative of the same behaviour that preceded it.
Okay, Frank Warren, who is Dubois' boxing promoter, joins us on the line now to join in the conversation as well. Frank, good afternoon to you. Thanks for coming on. Has the anger subsided from you, and where are you with your appeal, and what's the current ongoing process?
Well, as from the date of decision, you have 10 days to put an appeal in. At the moment, we're working on that along with a lawyer because that's the way we have to do it. And we will lodge the appeal. We've got a stack of evidence that we feel supports our claim. And hopefully we will, at the worst case, get a rematch from this.
You said straight after the fight, and when you spoke to us this week, that you wanted the result of the fight to be judged as a no contest. Is that your primary objective?
Look, that's what we're asking for because it shouldn't be a no contest. You can't. Daniel had to go and win that fight twice. That's basically what happened, and it was a terrible, terrible thing that the referee, what he did there. And I like Pabon. He's a decent referee, but he got it dreadfully wrong. And he was the referee also in the Joshua's second fight. If you remember, there was a bit of a thing about a low blow there. It was a situation. But the rules are quite simple. Rule 30 of the WBA says a protector, belt and cup shall be required for boxers participating in sanctioned fights. The protector shall not exceed the navel, I'm using their words here, this is not my own, shall not exceed the navel or the superior anterior iliac spine. The trunk should go 1 inch over the protector. Boxers shall have the trunks and protector available at the weigh-in ceremony so that the supervisor or referee may approve or disapprove them. Before the beginning of the fight, the referee will verify that both contenders use their protectors below the navel. So that's not your shorts below the navel, that's your protector, that's underneath. So that's where it's most boxers wear, including Daniel, by the way, because you can't see his navel, both boxers wear their shorts high. Lots of boxers do that for various reasons. You notice in that fight there's a couple of occasions where he goes back to the corner, Usyk, and when he sits in the corner they pull his shorts out to basically give him a bit of respite. That's a normal thing. As he gets up, they pull the shorts right up again. They pull his shorts right up. So they're quite high. That punch was 100% on the waistband of the shorts, which were well above his navel. The referee's job is also to, before the fight, to give both boxers, to tell the boxers this. And he didn't do that. We got film of the footage in Daniel's dressing room where Don has to ask him about it and makes a point about him with his high shorts, with Usyk wearing his shorts high. And that's all that's all he did. So he did not give the correct instructions. He obviously allowed this fight to go on. And even when he went down and he indicated as a low blow, he just arbitrarily gave him 3 minutes and 46 seconds to recover. That's a round and nearly a third to get up. Usyk said himself in an interview, I think it was yesterday, if the referee had started counting, he would have got up. He didn't get hit in the balls. He got hit on the waistline, and it was above his navel. And I don't blame him for, if a referee's giving you this leeway, I don't blame Usyk for doing it, but the referee shouldn't have done that. It was wrong what he did.
It is worth pointing out, isn't it, for those people who don't follow boxing on a regular basis, the reason that they give you this 5 minutes is because if you do get hit in the balls, it does take you 5 minutes to recover.
It takes you longer than 5 minutes to recover.
It
But
could
this
take
is
you
the argument we're having, and I spoke to Frank about this off as well. I said, listen, as an ex-fighter, I know when, with that waistband and where that shot goes in, I know it is above the belly button or at worst on the belly button. So the shot, talking about low blows here, and this is where the confusion is, and I'm surprised by a few of the ex-fighters' comments on talking about this, saying how much that takes out of you when you get hit in the balls. He didn't get hit in the balls. Let's make this clear. It was well above the waistband. Usyk wears that notoriously high anyway, and the shot that went in was, they call it the solar plexus, and it's a totally legal shot. But the argument here is about whether it was on the waistband or below it, etc., etc. It was on the waistband, which was high. That's where I'm at with it. I was there. I see it. It was right above me. It was not a low blow. That is a fact.
If you go on to on Jared Anderson's fought.
Yeah, we've spoken about it, Frank. Yeah,
in the state, I didn't hear that. Yeah. 15 times he got hit on the waistband. You look at it, 15 times.
But that's what I was going to ask you, Frank, because I looked and I've also listened to Joe Cortez talk about his evaluation of the circumstances, and all of them coming out in the same space. Yeah. But have you got precedent for a subjective refereeing decision to be overturned? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about subjectivity, because you've got one referee that allows Jared Anderson to wail away on Rudenko's waistline without a single murmuring towards it, and you've got another referee in front of a home crowd, 43,000 Ukrainians, supporting Usyk, and a referee making a decision. So what is the basis for precedent in this? Is there anything vaguely resembling that you guys can leverage into this equation?
Off the top of my head, I can't really think of it. I mean, there have been a few times where fights have been ordered, a rematch has been ordered, and I would think that's got to be the worst case scenario. But I just feel it. I think if what we'll probably come away with, and I hope we come away, is a rematch. Will they overturn it? It's a bit like overturning a penalty. It's going to be a hard thing. But morally, they should do that, because it was a genuine punch.
If you don't get the rematch, what next for Daniel?
Well, if we don't get the rematch, then he's 25 years of age, and he's got to do a couple of things. He's going to have to grit his teeth, and he's there, I know, and I'm telling him, and what I'll tell him when I see him next week, when we sit down next week, grit his teeth and get himself back in there. And he's got to grit his teeth harder, because there's a lot of people out there saying things about him. Some of it, certainly some of it in the past, is outrageous. And he's got to go out and show him what he's made of. Because if he wants to win a world title, which he can more than capable of doing, that's the only way you win it. It's about that. And, we have our ups and downs in sport. What happened was atrocious, in my opinion, on Saturday. He won that fight. He should be sitting there with the belts. That's what it's about. You shouldn't have to go and win a fight twice.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.